All right, now that we've identified classes in our diagram, let's take a look at the relationships that might exist between them. Here's a list of 5 different kinds of relationships that we can identify in a class diagram. Some objects might contain commonalities. So a student and an employee will both have names, phone numbers, and things that have to do with having accounts in the system. However, they'll have specialties too. So for example, a student will have a list of classes they're taking and a payment method to pay for those classes, while an employee of the school would have a position title and perhaps a campus location they are assigned to. Object-oriented programming allows classes to inherit commonly used attributes and behaviors from other classes. In this example, we have a parent class called person, right here. And this class will have all the features any typical account might have. So perhaps the names, the usernames, the passwords, anything that is common amongst any type of account. The student and employee classes right here, these are children classes to person. They will inherit all that account information and will have extra details that make them specialized to be either a student or an employee. So again, a student might have a class list. An employee might have a position or a salary or some sort of, payment information to get paid. A student might have a pay method to pay for classes. So they're going to have specific details that make them unique from each other, but they're going to have common details that make them, those are their commonalities. And that's where inheritance comes in handy. Inheritance is also known as generalization and can be defined as an is-a relationship. So we have a person and a student. So a student is a person. An employee is a person. So when we are identifying our classes, we can look at them and try to use this type of verbiage. So can I say that this is a fill in the blank? Use this technique as you are working through your diagram, as you're working through figuring out which classes might have an inheritance relationship. Keep in mind here that the child points to the parent. So the student and employee or the children class will inherit everything that the parent class will have, and the children classes will point their arrows to that class. And really, this is incorrect. I should have fixed this. I was busy creating this and I didn't fix it. This should have white, right? So this should be a white arrow. These should be black. I used one of those tools to create the color scheme for this, and I just forgot to edit those. But you will see when it comes to inheritance, you're going to see an arrow that looks like this. It's going to have a white arrow or a white triangle arrowhead and then a black line that points from the child class to the person class. And you can look at the examples in the class diagramming example that we're going to go over and look at. And you can look at that and you can emulate what you're seeing in that example in your own class diagram. So I really encourage you to take a look at that example. Association. An association is defined as a using relationship between two or more objects. So each object will have their own lifetime and there is no owner between the two in an association relationship. For example, imagine the relationship between a doctor and a patient. A doctor can be associated with multiple patients, and at the same time, one patient can visit multiple doctors for treatment or consultation. So this is speaking more to the multiplicity, which we'll get into what multiplicity is, but this speaks more to the multiplicity. So a patient can be associated with many doctors, and a doctor can be associated with many patients. But what we want to think about here is that each of these objects has its own life cycle and that there is no owner or parent between the two. This relationship simply exists in order to send information between the two classes. Any object in an association relationship can be destroyed or, removed from the system independently and not have any impact on another object. In UML, an association relationship is represented by a single line such as what we have right here. Essentially, an association relationship between two or more objects denotes a path of communication between the two classes so that one object can send a message to another.